Blog Talk Radio.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
And we are live. Welcome to the Ringside Reporter podcast, where we talk about the latest boxing news. If it's related to boxing, we'll talk about it here. My name is Eric Lorta, and I'm here with my co-host, Ringside Robert, and England's adopted son, Joe Habib. We have a great show for you today. If you want to call and ask questions, you can call in right now at 323-870-3857. And we'll be here till about 9 o'clock tonight. In fact, we're going to be here. We're going at 9 o'clock. Apparently, the fights start at 9 o'clock tonight. We want to get you out of here to see them, so we will be done at 9 o'clock. No questions asked, right, Robert?
That's right.
All right.
I mean, normally we like to have our callers, say their piece, and we don't mind going overtime, but tonight, no overtime's allowed. We have to be out of here at 9.
Yeah, listen,
No fighting with Jason, Robbie.
Hey, Robbie says it. It's law, baby. He wears the pants around here. I'll tell you that. He says it. It's law. Today, we're going to talk about the end of an era. This makes me sad. This makes me sad to even say. HBO is now out of the boxing business. Very sad. But on a brighter note, we have not one, but 2 train wrecks of the week this week. How about that, Robert? That makes up for it, doesn't it?
Well, that means we need 2 Briannas.
Or 2 Elenas. One or the other.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But first, we get started with the Zone, the World Boxing Super Series Final. Super middleweights, St. George Groves and Callum Smith. 12 rounds for Groves' WBA super middleweight title. And hey, Callum Smith became the new WBA super middleweight champion and the World Boxing Super Series champion by knocking out St. George Groves in the 7th round in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. I thought Smith, for the most part, kind of controlled the fight. He looked a little bit sharper than Groves, honestly. Smith clipped him with a left hook in the 7th round that got everything started. He jumped on him, was able to finish the fight. I'll tell you what, I was surprised. I had George Groves after he beat Chris Eubank Jr. I had George Groves winning that fight. I couldn't have been more wrong in that one. I think you have to say, man, he's the best super middleweight in the world after this. I don't think you can say anything else. I know there's a couple of other fighters he didn't take, but hey, look, the bottom line is there was a big tournament. All the belts were in that tournament. Most of the belts were in that tournament. Anybody could have jumped in there. And if you didn't jump in there, to me, you don't have a claim, because I think the best super middleweights were in that tournament. So he came out the victor. To me, he's the best super middleweight in the world. He's number 1. This was a difficult tournament. He fought the best fighters out there. I think you got to give it up for Callum Smith. He looked great in that fight. I thought he looked really good, and I can't wait to see him fight again. He's only going to get better from here. Beeb, were you surprised? Were you as surprised as I was that George Groves lost this fight?
I was very surprised, and I was concerned about the shoulder of Groves, but the way he fought in this fight, it did not look like he had any issues with the shoulder. It looked like it was pretty much as healed as it could be. The funny thing in boxing is sometimes when you're wrong, it feels good to be wrong. Like in this instance, I don't know about you, but I thought this was going to be a clear, concise victory for Groves. I thought he was going to win this fight about 8 rounds to 4.
Dominate.
I thought it would be competitive in spots. But going into this fight, I talked about Groves and I talked about Callum Smith, and I used a word crafty. And crafty is kind of a real tricky word sometimes to interpret, because what does crafty really mean? It kind of means you're skilled. You're fighting a smart, comprehensive type fight. But a lot of times when we think of crafty, we're thinking of the guys who have those shifty, flashy type moves, the little twists and turns and the dips and ducks and the little cutesy type feints and, the kind of whirling, the little bolo type punches, guys that can trick their opponents and, do certain things in there, and it looks kind of cool. But Callum Smith pretty much is that prototypical. I kind of called him a basic fighter going in, and I think I oversimplified his style, sort of like Klitschko. A lot of people oversimplified Vladimir Klitschko's style. All he has is a jab and a right hand, pretty one-dimensional. Blah blah blah. But if you watched Klitschko, he was a very patient fighter. He changed up the rhythm of his jab. He kind of lulls you to sleep with it at times. He would throw it out there as a feeler a few times, and then out of nowhere, he just mix in a snappy one and gets your attention. You know what I'm saying? And in this fight, Callum Smith reminded me of a poker player, a guy who we like to call a stone if you play cards, a stone, a leather ass, a guy that just sits there and keeps folding hands until he gets that one hand, and then boom, he crushes you. And this is what Callum Smith was in this fight. He was very poised, very patient, and you could tell he really studied George Groves, because George Groves, like I said, I thought he was the slicker guy. I thought he was the quicker of foot and of hands. I thought he was a little bit more versatile. I looked at Callum Smith and said, you know what? He's pretty basic. He's pretty basic, and he's more or less a 1-2 guy, a guy who's repetitive, guy who kind of does the same thing over again. His attack patterns are kind of basic. But if you watch this fight, he was that guy that was just waiting and waiting and waiting, because he knew George Groves kept his left hand low. And he knew that, George Groves sometimes would flash it out there, and he would get a little too comfortable, and he would kind of have a little bit of complacency in fights. Like when in the Froch fight, when George Groves was doing well and he was in that groove, kind of got complacent. He kind of got too comfortable, too relaxed. And that's when George Groves likes to kind of take those chances. And I think Callum Smith knew that. He knew that, George Groves is fast. He's tough. He's tough. But I know he's gonna, he keeps that left hand low. And when I know when he brings that in back down, there's gonna be an opening up top for me with my right hand. And so as George Groves would recoil that left hand and bring his waist, he would come over the top with the right hand. He was patient with it. Like he was a counter puncher, but he was a very calculated counter puncher. It wasn't like he was setting traps. He studied and he knew the openings were there, but he had to be patient and wait the openings out, because George Groves is a guy who's quick on his feet and quick with his hands, as I said. So you got to be patient. You got to time him. You got to time him, because you know what he's going to do. But the key is being able to time and wait for those openings. And that's what Callum Smith did. So he found a home for that right hand. And he appeared to be the bigger, stronger guy too, because both guys were landing some pretty solid shots. Both guys went to the body pretty well. Both guys were jabbing to the body. Both guys were pretty creative with their offense to some degree. But George Groves seemed to be throwing more punches early on. And he opened himself up a little bit more. And Callum Smith said to himself, you know what? I can hurt this guy with my right hand. I don't have to throw a ton of punches here. I can be somewhat calculated here, because I know when I do land my shot, I'm going to make it count. And that's what he did. He opened him up, kept coming over the top of that jab with the right hand, and he hurt him. And then he knows that George Groves was jabbing to the body a lot in this fight. He was jabbing to the body a lot, and he was actually throwing the right hand to the body a lot. He was leaning, and when George Groves throws that right hand to the body, what's he do? He leans. He leans forward. So, ironically enough, throughout the whole course of the fight, the punch that was paying dividends for Callum Smith was the right hand. But once again, another habit that he picked up on George Groves is George Groves was getting a little bit too brave, throwing that right hand to the body. And ultimately, the punch that was the beginning and the end here was the left hook, because he timed him. After George Groves went down into the body, leaned in, and he said to himself, he's got to come back up. As soon as he came back up, boom, he was waiting for him with that short left hook. So that in itself, I think, is crafty, because being able to pick up on these little things and have a comprehensive game plan like that, because you could tell he had a great game plan going in. He knew what he was going to do. He knew that George Groves was faster. He knew that George Groves was flashy. He knew that George Groves can punch a little bit, and he knew he was quick. But he also knew his habits. He knew his habits. He knew that he got brave. He likes to take chances at times. And then when he does that, he leans in. And then he has a great jab, but he's always going to bring that jab back down to his waist. And his face is going to be open for a right hand. So he knew all these things. And he focused on these things, and that's why he won the fight. So in that regard, his mind was crafty. He was crafty because his game plan was very, very sound, and he had an answer for the tricks. So he outcrafted the craftsman in this fight, and he shocked the hell out of me because I thought he was going to get his ears boxed off in this fight, and he did not. And he came up with the knockout. So full credit to him. And, people are going to criticize George Groves, but you know what? He said to himself, I'm really hurt right now. Could I get up? Yeah. But if I get up, guess what? I'm probably going to go right back down. And he realized that. So he just said, you know what? I'm going to live to fight another day. So I'm not going to give him any slack for that. So shout out to both fighters. I had Callum Smith up 4-2, but a lot of people were telling me they had it even up to the point of the stoppage. This was a great fight. I wouldn't mind seeing it again.
There you go. I think Rob Gotti in the chat just summed the whole fight up perfectly. He said that Callum was so disciplined. I think that is correct. I think he had to be, and just like you were saying in your commentary, man, and he had to wait for openings. He had to, he just really had to be disciplined and patient. And he also said it was a great game plan, and I feel the same way too. I mean, it really was. I mean, he systematically. It was almost like they just did such a good job. His corner, I thought, did a great job, and obviously Callum Smith did a good job. But it was an overall game plan that won this fight for him.
He believed in himself. He believed in himself. Sure. He really believed in himself. I mean,
he knew he was going to win that fight. There was
I was so impressed with this performance. He knew that he was going to land that right hand, and it was going to hurt. He knew he could hurt him.
After seeing him in the series, seeing him box during the series and everything, I was just kind of lukewarm on him. And then, like I said, when Groves went to the finals, I said, man, there is no way he's going to beat Groves. None. I mean, he's going to get smashed. And wow, I mean, he saved the best performance for last, man. That's for sure.
Because he's not a flashy fighter. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and dazzle. And he just, I don't know. He hurt. And the beautiful thing was when he hurt Groves with the left hook, he didn't just go crazy. He went back downstairs and went to the body. So he had the presence of mind to go in for the kill, but going for the kill with some intelligence.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's look back on it for a second. What were your thoughts? Because this is the final of the first season. Groves and Smith was the middleweight, super middleweight final. What were your thoughts on the tournament as a whole? I mean, did you like this? Would you like to see it again? Obviously, it's going to happen again, but I loved it. I mean,
it was great, but I couldn't help but think to myself, and I'm sure you may have thought the same thing. This would have been better if Uzgataki was in it.
Yeah.
If Ramirez was in it.
I agree.
Benavidez was in it.
Yeah.
But that's their loss. That's their loss. I'm sure Callum Smith and George Groves weren't going to check out if they knew these guys were in. I'm sure they still would have stepped up to the plate. But these guys didn't.
This is where the boxing politics gets in the way of tournaments like this.
Correct.
All promoters who have guys in certain divisions should allow their fighters to compete in these kind of tournaments. Because I think a Gilbert Ramirez, a Jesse Hart, a David Benavidez, Uzgataki, I think they all would have benefited from being involved in something like this. This is where promoters from various places need to learn, hey, this is a good thing here. Let our guys compete in this, because if they win it, it raises their profile.
Yeah. I mean, all the belts should be represented in these tournaments, not just two.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. But let me ask you. Let me play devil's advocate here.
Sure.
Couldn't Gilberto Ramirez be in there? Couldn't Uzgataki be in there? I mean, they had an opportunity. They could.
Well, Bob Arum.
If I was a guy, because again, Arum's just a promoter.
Yeah.
He's not the manager. He's just a promoter. If I'm a guy and I say, hey man, listen, I got to get in this tournament. He could try to talk me out of it, but at the end of the day, it's my decision. No, he could get in.
Yes and no, because you got a promotional contract with this guy. And if he doesn't allow you to go over and fight those guys in those venues or whatever, and he says, well, you know what? This is the fight I have for you. Like it's a catch-22, because back in the day, you're 100% right. Because back in the day, fighters would always say, like Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, they were the ones calling the shots. But for whatever reason, it seems like these guys are in these contracts where they got to fight, what their promoter wants. Like because the promoter's got a contract with ESPN. So what can happen here is, okay, you want to go fight in this tournament? When this tournament's over, I'm going to they could shelve the guy. I'm not going to get you any fights.
Yeah.
Like sort of like what happened with Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia didn't like his situation. And what did Bob Arum do? He shelved him. He didn't get him the fights. So can you do it? Can you do it? Yeah. But you'll be at odds with your promoter, and then moving forward, the relationship will be rocky. And then the promoter is not going to go the extra mile to get you the other fights that you need down the road. So it could create problems for a fighter. Go ahead, Robbie.
Unfortunately, with the way the boxing politics works now, Eric, I agree with you overall. But with the way the boxing politics works with, these various promoters, I think a fighter could risk having to put in the Mikey Garcia, Andre Ward situations where they're out of the ring for more than 2 years. And I don't think a fighter wants to do that. So I think this generation of fighters agree to go along with whatever their promoters say, and they don't have the guts to really stand up for themselves, is the way it looks to me.
Well, because it could be, unless you're a Floyd Mayweather, you're not really calling the shots. So if you're not a Canelo Alvarez and you're not a Floyd, it's like anything else. Like LeBron James can call the shots, but can a guy coming off the bench have that same weight as a LeBron James in terms of, like, LeBron James says, I don't like this coach, we don't get along. Guy's probably going to get fired. If the eighth man says that, guess what? The eighth man's going to get fired. Same thing in boxing.
Yep.
Same thing in boxing. And not to go off on a tangent here, but one last point, because I get in these conversations with my buddy D-Style all the time, and everyone says, "Oh, having this network pop up, the Zone pop up, ESPN Plus, having all these ways to watch boxing, it's great for boxing." I don't necessarily think it is, because then it creates more roadblocks, and then you got these guys that can only fight in this network. That's why I'm kind of glad HBO's gone, because now that's one roadblock that's been taken down. Now, hopefully, these fighters can go to ESPN, and then they can start fighting the ESPN guys.
Yeah, could be. We'll see. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. On the undercard of the World Boxing Super Series final, Chris Eubank Jr. versus JJ McDonough, 10-round super middleweights. Now, there was some controversy with this fight, man. The first round, Eubank Jr. knocked down McDonough with a left hook and hit him right on top of the temple. I saw the replay. It's a solid shot. I mean, there was no getting around it. That's a knockdown shot. I mean, it could have been a knockout shot. I mean, that was a stiff one, man. Overall, it was a one-sided fight, man. Between the third and fourth rounds, McDonough claimed he had a shoulder injury. The fight was stopped. There was some controversy with the fact that he went down in that first round. I read an article saying that, hey, he wasn't, that was a nonsense knockdown. It didn't appear to be hit. It appeared to graze him over the top of the head. Look, man, I saw the replay. It hit him flush. And go in there and take one of them shots and let me know how you do with it.
Yeah.
If you thought it was a grazing shot. The other thing was they said that McDonough claimed a shoulder injury. Now, Beeb tweeted something real interesting out last night, and it was from a betting site, I guess, in England somewhere.
In the UK somewhere, yeah.
Somewhere. But one of the betting sites refused to actually pay the money out on this fight, citing suspicious circumstances.
Yeah.
Now, Beeb, tell me a little bit about what it said and everything like that. And I mean, because that's what it.
Well,
have you ever seen?
Never seen this before in my life.
Right.
And if you're working with a reputable betting site, as long as whatever the official decision is, it doesn't matter how you get to it. If you get to it, you get to it. That's the way it is. So it says, please withhold settlement. Someone tweeted this out, and I just retweeted it. It appears to have come from a betting website. Please withhold settlement on the Eubank versus McDonough fight until further notice. Chris Eubank Jr., JJ McDonough, boxing about suspicious betting. Please do not settle any bets on the round betting markets for this fight. So I guess it looks like some of these prop bets that were third round. I don't think this was the over-under. I think this was anyone who bet the prop bet in the third round. From what I understand, because someone else under here said the rumors were on the fourth round, retiring at the end of the third is settled in UK markets at least, as a third round stoppage where the bell hasn't sounded to begin the fourth. So this guy John Swan on Twitter tweeted this out. So I didn't really look at the line for this fight because I wasn't too interested in it.
Right.
But I have a hard time believing the over-under was only 4 rounds in this fight.
Right.
It could be. I mean, I think the lowest I've ever seen an over-under was 5 in a big fight. So I don't know.
Well, it was 10 rounds too. I mean,
yeah,
that's the over-under. If it's a gimme type fight like this one was, I mean, or was supposed to be anyway.
Yeah, over-under is usually like 5 or 6 rounds, but
5 rounds, yeah, 5 rounds is about the lowest you're going to see it. I mean, you're not going to have it at 3 rounds or 4 rounds.
Yeah, well,
yeah. And have you ever seen? I mean, this is like taking your ball and going home. I mean, like they're just welching on this. I'm not going to pay you. That's nonsense.
Well,
you can't hold somebody's money.
This is why when you're going to gamble, and again, I'm not encouraging gambling. I'm not saying it. But if you are going to use a website, look at their rating, because they do have ratings. There's a reputable rating. There's a reputable site that rates all of the betting sites.
Yeah.
And you gotta, if you see it, I wouldn't even recommend going with the C. 5 Dimes, one that I have used in the past, it's an A+. There's many other good ones out there. But you really got to research where you're betting.
What is it? What is the one? Is it William Hill, one of those sites?
That's a UK, and again, I'm not too familiar with the UK sites, because there's different rules in the UK. Like in America, if a fight's a draw, it's a wash. If a fight's a draw in the UK, you bet on a UK betting site, you lose. Draws lose.
Ties lose. Yeah, all ties lose. I mean, that's
all ties lose.
Football too. You don't get your money back. I mean, all ties.
Well, in United States, it's a wash. You get it back, but in
even
UK,
and stuff?
Yeah. It's called the push. It's called the push.
Yeah, but even on parlays though, like if it's, I mean, that's an all ties lose, right?
On a parlay, I mean, if you bust your parlay,
that makes sense. Yeah,
parlays are different, I guess, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah, but I've never heard of a site, thinking there's a scam, and then all of a sudden saying, "Hey, no, we're not."
I mean, I've heard of issues with sites not paying out, but just because they stiffed people just for the sake of stiffing them. But these guys try to screw these guys and give them a kiss goodnight. You know what I'm saying?
Hey guys, I mean, just be careful out there, man.
Yeah.
Make sure you go to a reputable site. I think that's what you're saying, Beeb.
I mean,
go to a reputable site, man, because
I've gotten 3 payouts on 5 Dimes. These guys have been in the business for over 20-something years. I highly recommend 5 Dimes. That's why you hear me reference 5 Dimes, because they have the best lines, and they have like reduced juice and stuff. They have a lot of good perks if you use them often.
Yeah, and there's a few others out there. You always hear them on like podcasts and stuff like that. But man, I mean, just be real careful, man, because
be careful.
I tell you what, man, I'd be furious if I bet on that fight and then they come back with that.
Oh,
yeah,
especially if you were a normal bettor on that site and you've probably lost a couple bets and you gave up your money, and then they didn't pay you when you won. That's bullshit.
Well, and two, hey, things happen. I mean, games are fixed. Sometimes outcomes are fixed. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, point shooting, all that stuff goes on. Listen, it is what it is. That's part of it. When you put down the bet, that's part of the action on both.
Absolutely.
Sides.
Yep.
Now, you realize you're getting in Georgia territory because he's going to come out here and he's going to talk about the mafia again.
Hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether it is or isn't, you still got to pay the money out. If you win, you win. If you lose, you got to pay up.
Absolutely.
And that's on both sides.
Without question.
Right.
Yeah, just nonsense over there in England, man. All right. On ESPN Plus, Jose Uzcategui versus Ezekiel McDonough, light heavyweights. Uzcategui won a unanimous decision over McDonough by the scores of 100-90 and 98-92 on two other scorecards. Pretty one-sided fight. Now, the controversy on the next one, I heard from everywhere. I didn't actually get to see the fight. Jerwin Anakajas, one of my favorite fighters, and of course I missed him, versus Alejandro Santiago for the IBF Junior Bantamweight title in a very controversial decision. Jerwin Anakajas and Alejandro Santiago fought to a split decision draw. Scores were 116-112 for Anakajas, 118-111 for Santiago, and 114-114.
Crazy.
They were all over the place. 118-111 for Santiago, and then 116-112 for Anakajas. I mean, so they saw this completely different ways, and the one judge saw it a draw. So, and Jerwin Anakajas afterwards, he said that he still wants the best in the bantamweight division, junior bantamweight division. Listen, man, I tell you what, I think that I want to see these two fight again. I want to see Anakajas and Santiago fight again, man, because that fight, Anakajas, I thought was one of the better fighters. I mean, and I still think he's one of the better fighters out there. One of the top fighters out there, to be honest with you. So, hey, man, but in those lighter weight divisions, man, anybody can be a spoiler.
Absolutely.
Anybody can be a spoiler, man. They really can.
Absolutely.
On any given day, man, that's for sure. All right, let's go to the Showtime card. Devin Haney, this is the show box. Devin Haney versus Juan Carlos Burgos. Devin Haney wins a unanimous decision, lopsided by the scores of 97-93, 100-90, and 100-90 twice. Robert, let's go with you on this. What did you think of Devin Haney? Is he the real deal?
I definitely think so. Now, granted, he's only 19 years old, but I've seen him twice now on Showbox, and I love this series. I wish other networks would do series like this. Showbox is the best at showing you the best prospects. And as far as I'm concerned, Devin Haney, his future is sky high. He thoroughly dominated a guy who'd been in a world, who had fought for world titles on 3 separate occasions, and he made Burgos look like a person that probably should retire. He thoroughly dominated round 1 to round 10.
Hey, Robbie, I had a bad day at work last Friday. Should I retire?
Notorious in the chat said Robbie is going to call for Grove's retirement because he
Grove's got knocked out. Robbie, should he retire?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
But Beeb, did you see this? Because
yes, I did. I did.
One-sided.
I'm teasing you, Robbie, but it's funny that you say that because Burgos has been in there with a lot of tough guys. Been in there with Mikey Garcia. Has been in there with Rocky Martinez, and he's never been stopped. This guy, he's tough. He's a workhorse. But that's the problem sometimes when you're a guy like that who's never been stopped. That means and you're in there with a lot of tough fights with a lot of top level guys, who are you're just good enough to hang in there, but not good enough to win. In those instances, you're taking a lot of shots. He's in his 30s, but he's got a lot of miles on him. He does have a lot of miles on him, and he was totally outclassed. And I don't want to take anything from Devin Haney, because Devin Haney did some great work in there. He moved very well. He was tricky, never stood straight in front, gave him a lot of different looks, kept that jab in his face all night. And he actually, was really creating good openings for himself and good punching angles. And then when, he decided to step in and land something big, he landed some big right hands in there and really put Burgos on his heels and have him up against the ropes a few times, where I thought Burgos may have been stopped for the first time in his career. But with that being said, this guy has been in there and has taken a lot of good shots from a lot of good fighters. How much more can he take? Yeah, you do make a good point in this instance. But Devin Haney is a very good fighter. He's a very good fighter. And at 19, I can't but think he can only get better.
Is he a Mayweather fighter?
He was. Actually, he promoted this. He was the promoter of this show on Saturday.
Yeah, he promoted the card.
He promoted the card.
I heard that, but is he still involved with the money team or whatever?
I don't believe so, but I could be mistaken. I think they had a falling out, if I'm not mistaken. But if someone
I believe he's on his own now.
Wow.
Yeah, I think he's on his own now. Unless anyone can correct me on that, but I'm pretty sure he's on his own now, from what I've been seeing interviews and stuff like that.
Silly move by Mayweather, letting that guy go.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, he's at 135, Beeb. Who would you stick him in against, considering he's 19? But
19?
He thoroughly dominated somebody like
that. Maybe a little too soon for a Linares.
Oh, yeah, no.
Too soon for Linares. Who's that? That guy that Robert Easter fought, that Russian guy there. Oh.
What about Komen?
Oh,
what about
you
Komen?
mean Shafikov?
Shafikov would be a great fight for this kid.
Well, what about Richard Comey?
He's a little tough. I'd be a little wary putting him in there. Comey's a tough. He's a tough cookie. I would go with Shafikov. I would go with
Shafikov. I like that a lot.
Yeah, Shafikov I think would be a good fight.
Yeah.
I would put him in with Dennis Shafikov next. Yeah. Thank you, Robbie. I forgot his name.
We do have to keep in mind he is only 19 years old, but
that's what I'm saying. And he's ranked number 15 by the WBC too. So I think if he got a good win over Shafikov,
that's big.
Is it the IBF?
Yeah, he's number 15 in the IBF.
Okay, yeah. So he's ranked number 15 by the IBF. Another a big win over Shafikov. He could probably eke his way into the top 10 possibly.
Right.
Let's see here. IBF has Richard Comey rated number 1. Easter at number 6, Bartholomew at 7, and I didn't go through 3, 4, and 5 because you've never heard.
Is Shafikov ranked by the IBF?
No, Anthony Crawler
number 6
is 11.
Shafikov's ranked number 6 by the IBF, Robbie?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not what I said. I said 6 is Robert Easter.
I'm sorry.
Oh. Because Shafikov fought for the IBF title last year. I'm surprised he's completely out of the rankings.
Yeah, I'm not seeing him on there. Yeah, I am too.
Because I had that fight with the Shafikov fight with Robert Easter a draw. I thought he was in there tough.
Yeah, I thought so too. I think that's a good fight. I think that him and Shafikov would be a good fight. But I think that, again, he's younger, so let's, and he did a good job against the guy he was supposed to do a good job against.
Yeah. And then eventually you got to put him in there with a guy that's kind of quick and slick like himself. Yeah. So he'll be, can't keep putting him in there with these types of guys.
One of those guys that have that Mexican style, you know what I mean? That come forward pressure type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that, honestly, I think
eventually Linares would be a good fight for him, but not now.
Yeah, like a pressure style against Haney. Haney should deal with that pretty easily, though, with a pressure style.
Yeah, that's why I'd like to see him in there with a guy that's got quick hands and quick feet and moves pretty well like himself, so he can kind of see how it's like to be in there with a guy that's kind of athletic too,
Right.
I bet if Nacho calls, Nacho would have a good list because he keeps up with stuff like this.
Nacho can probably name all the guys ranked in all the sanctioned bodies.
He's good at that.
Guys like an encyclopedia.
Yeah.
Thomas,
I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning.
Sorry. Out, man. I'll tell you what. Thomas Matisse versus Zora Hamazarian or Hamazaran.
Yeah, this is the second time they fought. Yep.
Yeah, Zora Hamazarian.
Yep.
The bout.
Amesian or how?
How is it? I'm gonna say Hamazarian.
I don't know. Yeah. Okay, we'll call him Hamazarian for If we pronounce it wrong, we're sorry. The Hamesian or Harmazinian family, we apologize ahead of time.
Right.
We're just completely butchering this guy's name, man.
That's all right.
The bout ended in a draw, 77-75 for Matisse, 77-75 for Hamazarian, and 76-76 for a draw. Beeb, what were your thoughts on this fight?
Go ahead.
I thought this was a great fight. It looked like in the beginning it was going to be like the first fight where you had Harmazian putting on the pressure, going to the body, mixing up his attack very well to the body, to the head, and really coming forward with some intelligent pressure, not just winging wide shots, but throwing some short uppercuts up the middle, going to the body, keeping. He comes forward, but he keeps everything nice and tight and compact. So, he gets low and gets down in that crouch and comes up, and then he's attacking, but everything's tight. So it's not like he's giving you those openings. He's not torquing those punches like a lot of guys do when they come forward like that. A lot of these aggressive fighters. But Matisse was getting some space. He was getting some range, and there were points in this fight where he was landing some good right hands, and he landed a really good hook because he timed Harmesian coming out of that crouch, and he hit him right on the top of the head. I want to say that was in the fourth round, and he got his attention. Whereas in the first fight, he was landing good shots, but he really couldn't hurt Harmesian. But in this fight, he stunned him a little bit with that one punch. But credit to Harmesian because he got right back into character, and he was pushing him back. And it's just hard to fight this guy because he's got one gear and one gear only, and he's locked in the fifth gear, this guy, and he just doesn't stop. There's no shifting for this guy. This guy and granted, it was an 8-round fight, so I don't know if he could fight like that in a 12-round fight, but I sure as hell know he can do it for 8. And he's a tough out for anyone.
I've seen both of these guys fight twice now with each other, and they've been 16 wonderful rounds. The next fight, I'd like to go 10 to.
That was my next statement. I was just about to say, hopefully they can fight a third time and have it be a 10-round fight. But
I definitely
after watching,
do it again.
Yeah, and after watching these two guys fight, I could watch these two guys fight 10 times. But with that being said, I thought Harmesian had more moments. Thought he hurt Matisse more. Thought he was busier. Thought he was more active. And I thought he had some effective aggressiveness in this fight because he was landing shots as he was moving forward. He wasn't just, mauling him in there. He was landing shots. I had him winning this fight by 2 points myself. I had him up. I had him winning the fight.
He should have won the first fight, but they had lousy
judges
the first time around.
Yeah.
This time around, they had good judges, and they it was a much better judge fight. And I would love to see these two do it again a third time.
Yeah.
Great. 16 rounds of good boxing. I love it.
Yeah. Farhood had it a draw too. How'd you have the fight scored, Rob? Did you score it? Who'd you think won this one?
I ended up scoring it a draw this time. First time I had Haney winning, but this time I had it a draw.
Yeah, it was a good fight. It was a really good fight.
Yep.
There you go. All right. On Facebook Watch, Jorge Linares versus Abner Cotto. Linares wins via TKO in the third round. Linares dropped Cotto in the second round with a straight right hand to the chin. Linares dropped him again in round 3. Later in the round, Linares just jumped on him. Both men tumbled to the canvas after that. Cotto got up wobbly, and the bout was stopped. The time was 1:31 in the third round. I guess it was a good comeback fight for him, but, I don't know, not necessarily one we're going to go look for, I guess.
Nope.
Yeah, kind of surprised. We were talking about Jorge Linares earlier, and then, he ends up with, a little tune-up fight on Facebook Watch. This was a Golden Boy. I think it was a Golden Boy thing.
Of course it was.
Now, let me ask you a question, Robert, and we touched on this before the show here. All right, so DAZN, ESPN Plus, and Facebook Watch, 3 of the 4. Showtime, of course, had Showbox on 4 on Friday, but because you don't subscribe to the channels we get that and everything, but How do you feel about, like I said, HBO, is going to get out of the game or whatever, and that's great. But talk about for a second, like, your options seem to be like dwindling as far as what you can watch on TV and where and all that other stuff. I mean, how does that make you feel? I mean,
Okay, I want to make one thing clear. You guys always hear me talk about, well, no, I'm not going to pay for one app or another app or this app or whatever because I pay so much money for DirecTV. I mean, when they get over $200 a month of your money, you don't,
I hear
you don't necessarily want to be throwing money elsewhere. But for those that might be new to listening to this show, or for those that haven't paid attention, it's not that I'm totally against what people are doing, but for someone like me who has eye problems and has had eye problems all my life, the bigger the screen I have, the better chance I have of actually being able to watch it and follow along with it. I mean, if I have to watch fights on my phone, there's no way I'd be able to score them. There's no way I'd really be able to talk about them as well as I do, because I only have one eye that works. So the bigger, and I'm not going to invest in a large PC with a big monitor just so I can get all these apps. There's just no way I'm going to do that. I know what my limitations are, and I realize that my options are dwindling, but I have to work with what I can work with. Everybody else who's got two good eyes, they can go out and they can purchase all the apps they want if they've got the discretionary income to do it. But in my case, I don't. So, I realize my options are dwindling, but I also realize if I went ahead and spent the money for ESPN Plus and spent the money for DAZN and spent the money for this and spent the money for that, I might be able to watch them, but I wouldn't be able to come on this show and be a good host because I wouldn't be able to be as thorough about talking about what I was able to see. Beeb and Eric would have to basically run this show. I'd be a third wheel. I would be absolutely useless because my screen wouldn't be big enough.
Robbie, you're part of the engine, baby. You're not the wheel. You're part of the engine, Daddy. You're part of the engine.
The hood.
Please, don't ever call yourself a third wheel.
I have to be honest.
You're the supercharger, Daddy. You're the nitrous oxide of this show. You kidding me?
Hey, it is what it is. And I realize things are changing, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it.
I agree with you, Robbie. I canceled the ESPN Plus app.
Yeah.
The DAZN, I'm probably they as much trash as I talked about them.
Man, yeah, it's tough to cancel that.
It's like that girlfriend that you just can't get rid of sometimes, She treats you like shit, but you can't live with her, you can't live without her. That's how I look at DAZN. That's how I live at DAZN,
I have one of those right now, so I can't comment on that.
Well, be thankful, Robbie. It's not fun.
Be thankful.
Yeah.
Not fun at all.
Well, especially with all the Me Too stuff going on nowadays.
Wow, Robbie just went there. You such a sexist.
You just went there, Robbie. You just went there.
We were all sympathizing.
I know you're funding those Judge Kavanaugh websites. I know you are.
Well, don't get me started on that either. That was compelling TV. That's all I'll say about that.
Wow, Robbie just said she asked for it. That's cold-blooded, man. That's cold-blooded.
She asked for it, Robbie. She asked for it.
Words in my mouth.
Cold-blooded.
Don't put words in my mouth.
So messed up, man. Why are you like that?
No, seriously, guys. I know I'm working with limited options here, but I'm just going to have to deal with it until I can come up with for me to actually.
Well, here's another thing to consider too. Now, what type of measurements are these apps using? For, obviously, probably people that are buying them, right? So at some point, how many people have? We can go on Google Play and then go on, I guess, Apple, and kind of figure out how many people Well, you really can't figure out how many people actually bought ESPN Plus because it's part of the the ESPN app itself.
Yeah, and you can't.
But when you look in,
people watch those fights either.
Yeah. So the thing is, now again, I think there's 1 million downloads of DAZN on Google Play. 1 million. And I don't know how many's on Apple, Eric. You know how many people downloaded DAZN on Apple? Is there a way of finding that out?
No idea.
Yeah. So let's just, for all intents and purposes, say maybe there's 2 million downloads of DAZN. Okay, how many of those people are actually watching the boxing? Like, how are you going to figure out how many are watching the boxing, how many are watching the soccer, how many are watching the cricket, whatever? There's no way. So how do you determine whether these apps are a success or not? It's the same thing with ESPN Plus.
I guess they know. I mean, they got to know. I mean, they
must have some type of metrics they could use. I don't know. They must have some type of way of knowing how many people are actually watching.
Throw this out there and not know.
They gotta have a rating system, don't you?
But are we ever going to know how well this app is actually doing? It's not like it's like HBO and Showtime would give us their the Nielsen ratings. There's no Nielsen ratings for this app.
Right. It's kind of like Sirius XM. All right. So when you go off terrestrial radio, on terrestrial radio, you can actually, the ratings, where you stand and everything like that. On Sirius, it's a number. It's just like, it's not the same as
I'm a Sirius XM customer, Eric. I've been a customer since 2005. And every once in a while, they will come out and say how many millions of people are subscribers. And the last total they gave recently was 34 million. So.
Wow. Yeah, but then you don't know, I'm sure they know, but we don't know, how many people listen to the show, listen to say,
the public doesn't know,
right.
But the corporate
for sure.
people, they do.
For sure.
They know which channels work, which channels don't.
Right. All right. Let's talk about the upcoming fights this week. October 4, Robert, what is that? Is that Thursday?
That would be a Thursday.
From Costa Mesa, California, where Robbie hangs out, ESPN 2, Oscar Negrete versus Joshua Franco, 10 rounds. Is this a Golden Boy card?
Absolutely. You don't even have to ask, do you, Eric?
He puts on the worst stuff. The absolute nonsense. It's just bad. You remember the old Friday night fights on ESPN? That's the caliber that's coming out of there.
Or the Tuesday night fights on USA?
At least they had title fights. At least they had title fights from time to time. And they at least threw you a bone where some big names were on there.
Yeah.
It kept you coming back. I mean, this one, Jesus.
Yeah.
On October 6th, Saturday. From Leicester, England, on ESPN Plus, Jack Catterall versus O'Hara Davies, 10 rounds, junior welterweights. Nicola Adams versus Isabel Milan, 10 rounds for the vacant WBO Women's Interim Junior Bantamweight title. Daniel Dubois versus Kevin Kingpin Johnson, 10 rounds heavyweights.
Oh, Jesus.
How about Kevin Johnson is still around?
Oh, my God.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, right? Let's see here. Ryan Hatton on that undercard from Leicester. I wonder if is that Ricky Hatton's son?
Not sure.
Yeah,
I don't know. He's a light heavyweight.
I would think.
Help us out in the chat, please.
He's a light heavyweight. I don't know. Also on Saturday in Chicago on DAZN, Jesse Vargas versus Thomas Delorme, 12 rounds welterweights. Arthur Beterbiev versus Callum Johnson, 12 rounds for Beterbiev's IBF light heavyweight title. That's a good fight. Danny Rahman versus Gavin McDonough, 12 rounds for Rahman's WBA junior featherweight title. That's another good fight. Jarrell Big Baby Miller versus Thomas Adamek. That's not a bad fight. 12 rounds heavyweights.
That's not a bad fight either. Good for Miller. Yeah.
Let's see here. And kind of some unknowns on the undercards. 4 good fights though. Jesse Vargas, Thomas Delorme, I'm lukewarm on it. I don't hate it, but I'm kind of lukewarm on it.
Well, and we do have Chicago callers, so maybe one of them will go there and give us a report next week.
There you go. Also that night, not televised, but from Bangkok, Thailand, Srisaketsor Rungvisai versus Iran Diaz, 12 rounds for Rungvisai's WBC junior bantamweight title. Just had girl problems not too long ago, man. Rungvisai's out there again. He's back on the bike, man. He's out there. He's getting it done. Let's see what he looks like.
Good for him, man. Good for him. Keep your head up, brother.
Yeah.
He's got 99 problems. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe he's on Tinder. He's on that website Tinder now. Probably hooked up with someone else.
Wow, you just went there. That's messed up.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't even know if we can recover from that. From Tijuana, Mexico. That's Saturday. From TJ, Tijuana. That's how we're living around here, son. ESPN Plus. Your boy, Robert, your man, Louis Neri. Back off the juice now. Against Jason Kenoy, 12 rounds bantamweights. All right. Now, the big card. The big card this weekend from Yokohama, Japan on DAZN. DAZN's killing it this weekend, son. The picture's going to freeze. It's going to be pixelated. But listen, you'll be able to listen to the fights. All right, you'll be listening to the fights with the best of them.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Naoya Inoue, Godzilla, returning to Japan. Naoya Inoue versus Juan Carlos Payano. 12 rounds for Inoue's WBA regular bantamweight title.
That's Corey's guy.
Yeah.
World Boxing Super Series quarterfinals, the beginning of the new season. Gives me chills, man. I can't wait for this fight. This is a good, this is a solid fight. Beeb, is this a solid fight? Yeah, it's a solid fight, son. On the undercard, this is the undercard, Beeb. Beeb, check it. This is the undercard. Kiro Relic versus Edward Troyanovsky, former TV Troyanovsky. 12 rounds for Relic's WBA junior welterweight title. And it's
Eric, we can't cancel the zone. We can't cancel this, can we?
We can't.
We have to keep it. They got us. They got us hooked on that candy, baby. That crack cocaine. They got us hooked.
Got a free taste of it, man. I'm hooked.
We can't get rid of this app now. We could talk shit about it, but we got to keep it.
Sick. I just need to see another DAZN card. I'm sick. You know what I'm saying?
Sick, baby. Watching Anthony Joshua throw a pixelated right hand, baby.
Yeah, right. And that's how bad it is too. They sell us, bad stuff. They're watching it.
No,
it shakes when the commercials come on or whatever. You just like
can't stop watching it.
Want another round.
Then when it starts buffering, I start freaking having convulsions.
Read it on the internet. I want to see it.
Give me Sky Sports. Okay.
Well, Comcast bought Sky, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to put Sky up here.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't think they would, but I think that'd be an awesome move if they did.
My God, that would be phenomenal.
I'd be tuned in every week if I had Sky.
Yeah, right. All right. So who do you like in that? You like Payano or Inoue, Beeb?
I'm gonna go with Inoue.
I'm going to go with Inoue too, man. I think that man, I'll tell you what, his last fight impressed me, man. It really did.
Yeah.
That impressed me.
Looks
Robert,
like 118
what do you think?
was a good move for him.
Yeah, what do you think about it? What do you think? Payano or Inoue?
Oh, I think Inoue. Yeah.
There you go. All right, Godzilla rules. How about Kiro Relic and Edward Troyanovsky?
You know what? Relic
pick him.
Relic is
that's a pick 'em.
On Showtime several times, and each time he's been out there, he's looked good. I like Relic in that fight.
I'm gonna roll with Relic, but it's gonna be a banger, as Corey would say. Banger.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna upset the apple cart here, man. I'm going with the former TBE. I think he's gonna go back to his old form. Edward Troyanovsky gonna get it done.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's a brave one.
We'll see who's right next Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know if he will or not, but
could be a split decision next week, baby.
That's it. It could be. Could be. All right. If you guys like what we're doing, if we're at least bringing you some entertainment on a Sunday and you're not falling asleep on us, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button on the podcast there on YouTube. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up button and go subscribe to us on iTunes, Ringside Reporter on iTunes. So, yeah, just to make us feel better. We never ask you guys for money. We never ask you guys to do anything difficult. Just hit the thumbs up. Go subscribe.
This is not a pay-per-view podcast. So.
Should be, huh?
It's a good ego booster when you guys give us some love. Makes us feel good.
It makes us feel good when we look at those on the Monday morning and we say, wow,
Yeah.
really
How
like
many
that.
people gave us a thumbs up? We must be cool. We need that.
Yeah. Then, of course, I read the comments and then I just get bummed out again. But hey, I just look at the numbers anymore.
Jason starts friggin' bombing us with some crazy comments.
We want to make as many people happy as possible.
I usually answer I usually answer the comments. Yeah, I've been a loser for quite some time, sir.
Jason's not on the chat this week. I guess because there's no PBC fights this weekend.
Well, yeah, tonight there are.
Either that or he didn't pay his phone bill, one or the other. I guess they caught up.
PBC free, baby.
All right, we're going to go to the phones in just a few minutes here. I want to get to these first two stories here, and then we're going to get to the phones. HBO is now out of the boxing business after 45 years. HBO is now out of the boxing business. HBO is now out of the boxing business. In an interview with the New York Times, Peter Nelson, who is HBO's sports executive vice president, said, quote, "This is not a subjective decision. Our audience research informs us that boxing is no longer a determinant factor for subscribing to HBO." Robert, we've been watching HBO for a long time, man. What do you think?
We kind of predicted this last week when we were talking about this, but it makes me sad. They've done well over 1,000 fights. Overall, they've done a very good presentation. They've had good people: Barry Tompkins, Larry Merchant, George Foreman, Emmanuel Stewart, Lampley. I cannot give Kellerman thumbs up. He didn't belong there.
Kellerman sucked.
Harold Letterman did okay until he got older, but it's sad to see this. But we predicted this. The Daniel Jacobs fight will be the last card ever shown on HBO, and it's the end of an era, man. And Showtime just cannibalized one of their competitors, and Showtime is probably going to get stronger in the boxing business, and because there's one less competitor now, Showtime's going to have to compete with all these various apps and stuff like that, and we'll just see what happens. But HBO on its final night, it deserves a final 10 count. It provided a lot of memorable things over the years, but all good things must come to an end. And frankly, with the way HBO's been going lately, it's time for it to go, unfortunately.
Wow. Just trampled all over their grave. How about that?
Crazy.
I'll tell you what, I'm really sad about this, man. I mean, I've watched HBO. I thought HBO was always the better show out of both of them. I thought they just had, when it was on HBO, it just felt like a big fight. You know what I mean? It was always, and all the big fights that I remember were always on HBO. You remember the Chavez-Taylor fight? That was on HBO. I mean, all the big fights that I can remember growing up were always on HBO. Showtime just doesn't have, Showtime, to me anyway, just never had that big boxing feel. When I was watching it on HBO, you knew it was a big fight. But lately, like Robbie alluded to also, man, but lately they've been kind of dropping the ball. I mean, Cletus Selden was on there. I mean, and that's a guy, and I read this too, that they said that, where did they go south? And somebody said, they had Cletus Selden on. There was an article I read, and they're right. And it wasn't Cletus Selden, but it wasn't Cletus Selden that, tanked it. That's not what we're saying. That's not what it means. What it means is that, Cletus Selden would have never been on HBO ever back in the heyday, whether it was on Boxing After Dark, surely wouldn't have been on HBO, the main broadcast or whatever. But, stuff like that. I mean, and it just they started putting like fighters on there that really weren't the caliber there. I thought they lost out to, Gennady Golovkin was on there, Canelo Alvarez, very few American guys were on there. I thought that Max Kellerman being brought on there things kind of went downhill too. I was never a big fan of Kellerman on HBO. Ironically enough, I'm a bigger fan of Kellerman when he does his own thing. You know, when he talks about boxing outside of HBO, I'm a really big fan of him. But, you know, after that, you know, I don't know, man. It was, they just, you could tell that their heart wasn't in it anymore. They weren't putting any money into it. They weren't, you know, none of that. Beeb, what were your thoughts on this?
I'm gonna sound kind of sadistic here, but I'm glad to see them go. I've always Showtime better than HBO.
How dare you?
I've always liked Showtime better. I always thought they had the better. Now, granted, HBO always had a good production.
Yeah,
they probably had a nice. You can argue they had a better production than Showtime because they had more money at the time. But I think Showtime, I want to say the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years, Showtime's just kicked the shit out of them. I've always liked the Showtime announcers better. The great thing they did was I really like Paulie Malignaggi. I like Al Bernstein's my favorite boxing announcer of all time. So when they brought him on, I was ecstatic. But you know, the thing is the writing was on the wall. You know, they always lost their big fighters. They lost Chavez. They lost Tyson. They lost Felix Trinidad. They lost Floyd Mayweather. They just lost everybody. They lost Canelo Alvarez for a while, and they were lucky to get him back. So they just made a lot of bad moves. Like, just think, you know, how did they let Floyd Mayweather go, and why they let Floyd Mayweather go? You know, did they ever say again?
I got to be honest. I think that was a good move, based on who he fought.
Okay.
When he came out, based on who he fought when he went to Showtime. And I know you had said, you know, with the Pacquiao fight, Luma, but the Pacquiao fight never happened. The Pacquiao fight never happened until it was way past his prime.
Yeah, and they still ended up getting a piece of that anyway, so they didn't really lose fully on that. But they could have probably maximized a lot more if they had both fighters.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
But at the end of the day, they were the first, and they did have some classic matchups. You know, on there. They had Marvin Hagler on there. They had Sugar Ray Leonard on there. They had a lot of great fighters on there over the years. Alexis Arguello, Aaron Pryor. These were all HBO fights. George Foreman made history on HBO. So these are the things these are the things that we have to remember and we can't forget. And for that, even though I wasn't a huge fan of them, I will give them credit for what they've done for the sport, and I wish them a fond farewell.
You still trampled over them. That was pretty cold.
I did, because I don't like Kellerman. And Lampley, I can't stand Lampley. I like Kellerman as a person. I don't like him as a commentator.
You know, I liked it better when they had Barry Tompkins and Larry Merchant there.
Oh, I love Barry Tompkins.
I never did like Larry Merchant, man. I got to be honest, but I
didn't like Larry Merchant because he kept forgetting things.
Back in the day, Jim Lampley was better back in the day until he became like a house fighter, pom-pom waver. You know what I mean?
Until he became a fan.
Yeah.
When he was just an he was just an
acted like he went through menopause because he cried so much.
Oh, stop it! The guy's got feelings, Robert. What's the matter with you?
He's got too much estrogen pumping through his veins.
You're making fun of the guy?
He must have been taking.
I got 2 words. I got 2 words for you, Eric. 3 words for you. The fight game. Enough said.
Fight game sucked.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Worst show ever.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Ever.
That was, you know, and as much as I love like boxing shows, that was one I wouldn't watch. I couldn't get it. It was terrible.
You know what?
He's just so biased. He's so biased.
They're 24/7s. They're 24/7s. Man, they set the standard. And
yeah, but even those sucked after a while.
That, but it hasn't come close to what HBO started.
Yeah, but I mean, even those sucked after a while though. Even the ones they did on Canelo and Triple G sucked. Yeah, they were. I don't know. I don't know. They were just. Maybe it is time for them to go. Get rid of them. Who cares?
Yeah, we don't need them anymore.
And of course, HBO is the one that put together the Legendary Nights. Remember that documentary with
and
Ward.
Yeah. And then all their other fights on there, yeah.
And we hear this term very often in boxing. Well, this guy is on the other side of the street. Well, guess what? Now one of the streets has been shut down, so now there's not another street to have to go across. Wow. And in that regard, I am very happy.
Wow. Well, so much for their 10 count.
Yeah.
Terrible. All right. Before we go to the train wreck of the week, let's go to the phones.
And keep it short, guys.
Wow. Robert just said, cut it short, son.
From this day, you'll be my new fool.
Georgie.
Hey, Georgie, what's up?
It was happening, people.
What's the word?
Go on, George.
Well,
Jason in the chat just said, shut up, Robbie.
Today. I don't have to go after Jason.
Yeah, thank God for that,
in a bad mood. Yeah, we don't want to get you in a bad mood, brother. But listen, bro, I gotta side with Beeb a little bit. Fuck them. I recognize everything that HBO have done.
Hello?
You there?
The ones.
Oh, there he goes.
Hello.
Mafia got you. That's the sound it makes when your phone is tapped.
Yeah, the mafia muted you there for a while.
Yeah. Phones tapped.
I know, baby. They after me. They after me.
They're after you, man.
They knew me again. Listen, bro. These people had it coming. How the fuck these people have money for all this month for the so-called fight game, that piece of that Jim Lamping bullshit show that nobody really want to fucking hear? We're sick and tired of that propaganda from these people, man. They did a lot of good. HBO did a lot of good, but they did a lot of evil too, bro. They cut block mass fights. And, I mean, I'm glad they gone, bro.
Well, conversely, Georgie, what's your opinion of Showtime?
Georgie has dropped. That wasn't me. Georgie dropped. Georgie, if you're listening, call back. We'll put you back on. They got him. They done gunned him.
Oh, Georgie.
Down, man. I hope he's all right.
You gotta upgrade that Galaxy S3.
Say, get off the Cricket Network. All right. Beeb. It's time for the train wreck of the week. Elena, get up here.
And we got two of them.
Chugga, 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 choo, choo.
Look at that. That was unbelievable.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got the voice of
Good job.
Just like her father. Unbelievable. All right. Train wreck of the week. Billy Joe Saunders fails his VADA test. All right. So Billy Joe Saunders tested positive for a banned substance, oxylofrin. I guess I'm saying that right. It's a stimulant. The fight was said to be in jeopardy, but appears to be going on as scheduled. The deal here is apparently the drug is okay to use in the UK, except on fight night. Go figure that one out. But it's banned in the US. So I don't understand. Does this mean he's cleared? It's a stimulant. So it's kind of like a weight loss pill. You know what I mean? It's so it'll have him lose like massive amounts of weight or whatever.
Another bronchodilator that helps with stamina.
There you go.
All right.
So I don't understand, like
Clenbuterol.
Yeah, they said in I saw a video with Victor Conte, which I can't stand Victor Conte because he's a cheater. And the thing is with Conte, like now he's supposedly doing everything legit. How do we know he's doing everything legit? How do we know he's not still juicing up people? You know, I don't know. I don't really have trust for what he says. But I did see a video with him, and he said that it was a lot more powerful than clenbuterol. It was a lot more powerful than the stuff that Canelo was taking. So, but, you know, and he brought up a good point, too. He said that Saunders signed the contract. He signed the agreement. He signed the VADA consent form. There's really no reason for this. Why is this fight, Beeb? Why is this fight allowed to go on?
Well, once again, though, it's up to the commission if they want to go along with what the VADA findings, because we've seen VADA findings come up.
Yeah,
people have had adverse effects, adverse results in their tests, and the commission allowed the fight to go on. So,
interject something real quick.
Jump right in. Go ahead.
Conte said in the video that Billy Joe Saunders doesn't even have a license yet. So
to fight in the United States, which is common. They usually get that couple weeks. It's fine.
Right. So yeah, I mean,
so
commission, all VADA does is say yay or nay. Hey, you're positive or you're not.
Well, here's the thing with the whole situation. Now, WADA and UCAD, and VADA are three separate entities. So, and USADA as well, because USADA, when they do the test that they're testing for high testosterone for steroids, from what I understand, and anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, this is why VADA catches more people than USADA, and this is why a lot of people allegedly say that Floyd Mayweather uses USADA. Is what they look for is the testosterone to epitestosterone ratio. What VADA does is they do a carbon isotope test that can detect synthetic testosterone. So what are the advantages and how do people beat the USADA test? Well, if someone's taking testosterone, they can kind of level out the ratio by taking epitestosterone, so the ratio is not as high, and they can still be taking testosterone, and they can still be taking steroids to some degree. But with the carbon isotope test, which is when Lamont Peterson failed when he was going to fight Amir Khan in the rematch, they can detect if it's synthetic or not, regardless of the ratio. So VADA has a reputation for catching people. USADA does, but not to the success rate of VADA. VADA catches the most people. WADA, they're all over the place. Sometimes they're just the gold standard that a lot of these agencies use, but a lot of their rules are sketchy too, because we saw with their that drug that Povetkin was taking there, the meldonium. They had 10 different rules for that drug, and they changed the rule so many times. And they knew nothing about the drug, but they banned it anyways. So until they get some organization with these testing bodies, and until the commissions are on board with them 100%, like credit to the UFC. The UFC basically goes whatever USADA says. So if USADA says you fail, you fail. It doesn't matter what anything else. The contract they have is if USADA says you fail, the fight doesn't happen. Unless there's a reason that USADA, you can get cleared by USADA. If there's a reason that you can come up with that can clear, and you can explain it to USADA. The situation we have in boxing right now is, and I said this right when this whole thing with VADA came out, this clean boxing program came out, and even with Floyd Mayweather with USADA, I said if the fight is too big to fail, it's going to get pushed through one way or the other. They're going to find a way to push it through. And in this instance, there's a loophole with UCAD. So another question I have for you is how many of these UK fighters are taking stimulants and stuff like that in training and not taking it close to the fight or the night of the fight, and they're passing drug tests, whereas if they fought in the U.S., how would it pan out for them? Is this now again casting a big cloud over Anthony Joshua's head? Is this the reason why he's reluctant to come to the United States to fight? Is this one of the reasons? Again, I'm speculating, but because you have different testing organizations, and if he came to fight Wilder, I'm sure Wilder would try to negotiate having the fight being tested by VADA. So this is the dilemma you have. But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker of all things. What a effing hypocrite Billy Joe Saunders is, because he said that Canelo Alvarez should be banned for life. So now, what does he say about himself? He was one of the loudest voices standing on top of the mountaintop. This guy should never fight again. Now, what does he have to say for himself? Add this to that other controversy he did there with the person that was addicted to drugs and how he was playing games with her, and he had to pay £100,000 fine or something like that. So this guy has a son. He's supposed to be setting an example for his child, and he's got all this stuff swirling around him right now. I'm not saying that boxers are supposed to be role models, but they are role models to a lot of people out there. People look up to these fighters, and these fighters should represent themselves and represent the sport a lot better. And again, am I part of the PED police? Absolutely not. But now, because you mouthed off so about Canelo Alvarez when he failed his test, and you were so adamant about him getting punished, really, tough and strenuously, you wanted him to get punished. Now, what do you say for yourself? So it is what it is.
I gotta be honest, man. I think he could have failed this test, not on purpose, but just kept taking the substance with the knowledge of saying, well, hey, it's legal here. Even though it says on the contract, he knew what it said on the contract. I mean, I think he very well could have just taken it just to take it and saying, hey, if I fail it, but this is my backup here. This is what
And exactly, Eric. I think same thing with Canelo Alvarez, same thing with Billy Joe. These guys already have an alibi in place.
Yeah, for sure.
And and they're willing to roll the dice, and they're willing to deal with the repercussions. Now the fight's going to happen now because of that little technicality. But if you're Demetrius Andrade, you should be concerned. You should be concerned.
Yeah. What?
Go ahead, Robbie.
Fury fight, it's going to take place in LA. So does Tyson Fury take this stuff?
I don't know. I mean, what does it matter now? I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Do we?
All right, so yeah, that was Billy Joe Saunders failed it, but I'm just surprised that the fight's still going on. And again, it's up to the commission, but yeah, he's right when he says he doesn't have a license, so they really can't do anything. I guess without a license, I don't know. But
and then
it's going to go on as planned.
And it's going to be tough to use the argument that this thing is in a lot of supplements because it's banned in a lot of banned.
NFL, MLB, they all ban the substance.
Yep.
But even the supplements companies, they deem this substance too dangerous because allegedly it speeds up the heart rate. It affects the beta-3 receptors in the body, and it speeds up the heart rate. So it's been taken out of a lot of supplements already, just like ephedra was. Similar.
You think about this for a minute, Beeb. Can you imagine how fast your heart rate is on that stuff?
Oh my God!
And for how long of a period of time? Like when you're working,
the average heart.
I mean, you can have it elevated for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I mean, depending on how cardio and hard cardio and stuff.
Yeah,
it definitely comes down. It doesn't stay like that. I mean, this is like a solid. That's dangerous, man. That's got to be dangerous, right?
Well, here's the thing.
Heart rate is 100.
Well, not necessarily. The normal resting heart rate for a man is usually about 75, 80. 100. Kids get up to 100 and stuff like that, and it's okay if you're up to 100. I mean, but you're kind of pushing the envelope a little bit if you can't. Like when you go to bed and you're getting ready to sleep, your heart rate's about 65, 70-ish. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you're trying to sleep and your heart rate's 100, you're not going to fall asleep. You're gonna be watching friggin' Netflix till 3 a.m.
Oh, for sure.
Before you fall asleep. So think about it. And again, I have been skeptical of all these guys. You don't drop 25 pounds in friggin' six to 8 weeks. You can't be fat and then 8 weeks be ripped. It just can't happen without some assistance.
Right. And I think that's more what's going on with boxing today and sports in general. I don't think, or especially like in, I don't think it's your quintessential steroids like DECA or whatever, like it used to be back in the day, where you're putting on muscle and you're just getting big and ripped and everything like that. I think it's more like these, where it's like fat burners and where it gets rid of the water and gets rid of all the stuff at a rapid pace. So you.
But Eric,
yes.
When these guys are cutting weight, right? They have no energy to train. No. And if you have you're taking stimulants, and your heart rate's going up, and you're bronchial tubes are expanding, and you got this burst of energy, even though you're not eating enough and all that, that's an advantage.
Oh, for sure.
That's an advantage.
Sure.
That's an advantage because you're being able to train at a high level where under normal conditions you would not be able to. So it's more than just losing the weight. It's being able to be effective at the lighter weight because of the stimulants. Whereas if another guy's not using the stimulants and he's killing himself, then in round 8, he's going to be fading. Round 8, you're getting your second win because your body's already been gained the benefits of those stimulants from training. So it's really unfair.
Crazy. All right. Train wreck of the week number 2. And first of all, thank you, Aaron Daly. And we're going to grant your wish here in just a second. Train wreck of the week 2. This is a bad one too. This is such a bad. I hate reading this. This is awful. Victor Ortiz charged with sexual assault. This is according to TMZ. I got the article from TMZ. According to court records, the alleged incident took place inside of a home in Oxnard on March 19th. The female accuser contacted police that same day and filed a report accusing Ortiz of sexual assault. The Ventura County District Attorney Office has charged the boxer with 3 felony counts of forcible rape, forcible oral copulation, and forcible digital penetration. He was booked, posed for a mugshot, and the bail was set at $100,000. This just makes my skin crawl. It really does. And, you know, he's charged with sexual assault. I don't know. I don't think he was indicted yet. I don't know. But they, you know,
not yet.
How much it just, I mean, how much you have to have just to be charged with sexual assault? You know how difficult that, I mean, that's, I think that's probably pretty big, man. I don't know.
To have a warrant put out on you and you're actually arrested, they have to have some pretty compelling evidence in order to do that.
Actually, he wound up turning himself in, I heard.
Because a warrant was put out for his arrest, Robbie. That's why he turned himself in. And the girl allegedly went to the hospital. So there's a hospital report.
Yep.
So this isn't no he say, she say, 36 years ago. This is hospital reports, and this is evidence.
You know, this is a guy.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's, you know, somewhat famous. You know what I mean? He's been in a couple movies. People may recognize him and everything like that. He's a boxer and you know,
and
whatever.
He's on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, so people recognize him. And this is, you know, and again, man, I don't want to rush to judgment or whatever, but, you know, I am kind of biased in these things. I'll be honest, man. You know, listen, man, no means no. And when he goes in there and it's like, it's just, like I said, man, this, when it takes it this far, it's pretty, you know, I don't know.
You know,
when the girl has to go to the hospital, then that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, exactly. In 2018, come on, people, wake up. Look at
here's
what the headlines have been over the last couple of years.
Right.
Look at how many people have lost their jobs because of crap like this. You know, men need to learn. You cannot have your way with women, you know, because women are going to speak up now more than ever. The more people that get in trouble, the more women are going to come out and say stuff. You've got to learn. When a woman doesn't want your attention, doesn't want you to touch her, keep your hands to yourself, like the old Georgia Satellite song used to say. You know, I mean, this whole, I mean, more and more every day in our news and on TV and, you know, anywhere you look, there's more and more of these cases. It's almost like the problem is getting worse instead of getting better.
Yeah. And I mean,
he's going to jail for at least 10 to 15 years if he gets convicted of this.
Yeah. I mean, and I tell you what,
and
convicted, it's going to take a lot more to be convicted too. I mean, because, you know, and they're going to throw all kinds of stuff at this girl, you know, what were you wearing on that night? Like it even matters, you know, and it just makes you sick to hear it. It really does.
No,
you know?
And this is a guy that's a good looking guy. He's, like you said, he's
out there. Yeah.
He can have anyone he wants. Probably he's prominent out there. You know, he's been in movies. He's definitely been on TV. He's been in commercials. This guy can pretty much shouldn't have any problems getting a girl. Why would you have to force yourself on somebody?
Yeah.
You know, pretty sad.
You know, it's not even, you know, it's about, you know, hey, I can do whatever I want. You know, I
Yeah.
mean,
And the sad part.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. And the sad part about it is when Robbie called me and basically first thing when I picked up the phone, I said Victor Ortiz, right? He goes, yep. And I said, Robbie, you know what's crazy? At first I was saying to myself, you know, this is a shocker. But then again, I thought to myself, this is Victor Ortiz. This guy has a really volatile personality. Like half the things that this guy's done, like I think this guy just has no control over his behavior. This guy is just so volatile from, you know, behavior wise. I think he must have some psychological issues.
Yeah,
without question. He needs a therapist.
Yeah.
You know, and again, man, I'm very biased on this type of situation. I really am, and it's, you know, and maybe he's 100% innocent, but
I doubt it.
I mean, you know.
Well, when a girl goes to the hospital, though, Eric, when there's hospital reports, like again, not same thing with Mayweather. I mean, his son wrote a letter, and he saw it. He saw it. So, you know, it is what it is. It's just you know, when the evidence is there, the evidence is there.
Yeah. Just awful.
I mean, men just have to learn. You cannot do things if a woman doesn't want you to do anything, you know, get lost. You know?
No, that's it.
It's insane.
I mean, how many of these cases do guys have to see before they get the message?
I wonder if drugs were involved too.
Well, you know, somebody in the chat just brought up CTE, which I think that's a very, you know.
Yeah,
it's a valid point.
Well, be the thing. I mean, he's taking a lot of shots, and I mean, you got to figure not just in fights in the gym as well.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with that disease, there's no cure. I mean, they can't diagnose it until you die. So,
right.
And I know scientists are working on it on a daily basis, but you've got people like Jermaine Taylor doing weird things. You know, Victor Ortiz, you know, he just falls into that category. But God, it's 2018. Men have to wake up. You can't do these things.
Yeah, if Jason just texted me and said enough of #MeToo. All right, so here's what we're gonna go ahead.
Yeah, you know what? You may get sick of hearing about it, Jason, but as long as women are able to speak for themselves and as long as idiots like this are going to do this kind of thing, you're going to hear even more of it, whether you like it or not.
There you go. All right, we're going to bring Jason on here in just a second. For our next story, I'm going to bring Ohio One's Boxing on for the next story. We're going to go to Jason first and then bring Ohio on because he knows what story we're bringing him on for. So with that.
PPBC, PPBC, PBBC, PBBC, PBBC.
Intro. You know how like the old newscasters used to do?
Are you at a fireworks display, Jason? What the hell is that?
Just pissing on HBO's grave, guys. What's going on? It's a great fucking weekend. How's everybody doing? Had to light a few fireworks. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Good.
Just
oh my God.
My godfather Al Heyman popping some bubbly tonight. What are you guys doing tonight?
Are you mowing his lawn beforehand, or are you just like serving people drinks, or what are you doing?
No, we hire people for that kind of stuff. We hire people.
So how much
wash the dishes? You wash the dishes?
Isn't it kind of hey Beeb? Isn't it kind of like funny the network that banned Heyman? They said we would not work with Al Heyman or any of his fighters and let the biggest superstar in boxing go. Is dead, and the network that welcomed him with open arms and gave them the biggest deal in boxing, which was Floyd, is booming right now. Isn't that kind of funny?
I'm glad. I'm glad. I've always liked Showtime better. Always.
Showtime.
No,
I haven't enjoyed that broadcast team in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know why they're
Go ahead.
dead? Because they don't have the GOAT, Teddy Atlas, son. That's why.
They needed. They need George Foreman back.
Teddy Atlas.
Almost $1 billion because of Floyd not being there. They lost almost $1 billion in pay-per-view revenue because Floyd not being there. What kind of an idiot fucking company does that? Do you know how much money Floyd made for Showtime? He sold like almost 13 million pay-per-views on Showtime. 13 fucking million by himself. And you want to do the math on that, Beeb? Beeb, like 13, 14 million. I did the math. It was like 4.6 with Manny, 4.4 with Connor, like $1 million almost with McDonough 2 times, almost 900 with Guerrero, 2.6 with Canelo. All that money HBO lost. Do the math on that shit. Almost 14 million pay-per-views and an average of like $70 a pop. Think about how much money that is.
I agree.
I
agree 100%.
Game of Thrones is pulling. Game of Thrones.
With your fucking dumb shit, I'm talking about something.
Game of Thrones is pulling in more money than all of them, son.
Reply.
He goes.
Beeb, go ahead and reply.
There's nothing to reply to, son.
I'm on your side on this one, baby.
You're preaching.
I agree with you.
Reply.
What kind of a retarded company turns out almost $600 million in cash because of being?
They're idiots. They lost Tyson. They lost Mayweather.
They have problems.
They lost Canelo for a while.
Yeah, Don King. Yeah.
They lost Chavez when Chavez was big.
Powerful black promoters, not just any promoters. Powerful black promoters. That's a pattern right there. Shitting on American champions like Roy Jones and Mayweather and Hopkins. That's a pattern right there.
Didn't they employ Roy Jones?
Roy Jones is a fucking sideshow. Who cares?
How are they dumping on him? How are they dumping on Roy Jones?
That's their token black hire. They put one guy on the staff. Wow. Oh my God. A staff of 400.
Yeah, but they used to shit on him when he was fighting. They used to always try to talk shit about him when he was fighting.
Oh, not Roy Jones.
Exactly.
Yes, they did.
What did they say bad about him in his prime?
When he knocked out what's his name, Montel Griffin. Oh, he should be disqualified. Oh, blah 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 blah. Fucking Montel Griffin was freaking putting on an Academy Award performance. Oh, they should disqualify Roy Jones. That was fucking bullshit.
Well, I don't know. I never did Merchant though. You know my feelings on Merchant, so
Merchant didn't always talk shit about Roy Jones.
He always denigrated Roy, put him down and fucking Hopkins.
Look what Merchant said about De La Hoya when De La Hoya came out to the mariachi music. You know what he said? He goes, "This music sucks."
Wow, I don't remember that.
And then De La Hoya said he should be fired. Mike Tyson wanted Merchant fired.
Yeah, and Floyd.
That's why Mike Tyson left.
Floyd wouldn't let Merchant interview him.
Fucking idiots.
I remember Tyson saying that he said that they'd rather see Holyfield the champion rather than me. I remember that. That's why he went to Showtime. He said they'd rather see Holyfield the champion than me.
Eric, Merchant also said once that Floyd Mayweather is a good-looking kid, but he doesn't have those really, really good-looking star quality looks like Oscar De La Hoya. I mean, he'll make it, but he'll never be like Oscar. I mean, Floyd surpassed Oscar like fucking 10 years ago. Fucking asshole. Everything he said was wrong, man. I mean, like everything they predicted. Also, all these guys that are predicting that PBC is broke and dead, and I'm watching PBC right now. Their production quality has changed overnight. Like the camera angles, like the lighting is bigger on the fucking the graphics are better. So Fox has already started putting more money in this. That's because they saw how much money PBC's made for Showtime.
Their logo's even better. See how shinier their logo is now than it used to be? Fucking logo's incredible.
You said, Beeb?
Their logo's even better now. It shines when they put it on. It's got a glistening to it.
See the logo on top of the building? Oh my God, that shit is fucking lit. Oh my! I mean, you know,
even the mics they use. You see when they're doing their commentary, the mics they use, the headsets. I think they're using freaking Dr. Dre headsets, man.
Dr. Dre. Hey, I use Dr. Dre's headset. Look at this. Beats, baby.
Now Lampley's going to be forced to watch BBC every week or every other week. What else is Lampley going to watch? If he wants to watch boxing, he's going to have to watch BBC.
Well, PBC overdose. What's Steve Kim going to do?
They're going to watch The Zone, baby. They're going to watch your boys on The Zone.
They said, but remember in 2016, they said, we don't want that free boxing shit from PBC. We want that premium shit from HBO. PBC has no money left. They're about to go broke. And now, guess what? Who's broke? Who's dead? It's HBO boxing. So everything they're predicting is opposite of that happened. And that's such fucking sweet karmic poetic justice for Heyman. I bet Heyman's fucking happy as hell.
Yeah, I like how Jason's so happy for Heyman. Like he's getting paid.
Beeb, the zone numbers are looking horrible, man. I heard the AJ fight was watched by like maybe 10,000-15,000 people live. Did you hear anything about that?
I'm trying to figure out how do we know all this stuff? Like, because I was just saying earlier, like the zone has 1 million downloads on Google Play Store, right?
Yeah.
But how many of those people are actually watching the boxing? And how many people are watching the soccer? How many people are watching the cricket? All the snooker.
Who's going to download it for cricket in the U.S.?
Are they global downloads?
I don't know. I'm just saying how many people, like in Canada and stuff, are watching it for boxing. I don't know. I have no idea, because you have people. There's people in the United States that like soccer too, Eric. They could be downloading it for the soccer. I don't know. I know Canada downloads it. I know Canada downloads it for the NFL.
Hey, Beeb.
So
how much are those 1 million downloads for USA? Do you know?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know how many of those are United States people. I don't know how many of those. You know what I'm saying? So that's worldwide. 1 million. That's not a lot of people.
I just want to look at
the
channel. The most watched video on there is about Deontay Wilder with 120,000 views. Every video with AJ is like 400 views. There's a day in the life with AJ is like 400 views. U.S. fans don't even give a fuck about that. That people are watching about Deontay Wilder and Dylan White exposing Deontay Wilder on his own. It's got 150,000 views. That's the only video with those kind of views.
Yeah, so we don't know. Like you said, we don't know how many of those 1 million views are U.S. downloads, and we don't know how many of those 1 million views are actually boxing views. We don't know. I'm sure they know, but I don't know.
Yeah. Also, this Billy Joe fight has not been approved yet. The Massachusetts Commission has to rule on it, doesn't it, Beeb?
I'm sure the commission's going to have to decide whether or not the fight goes on.
That fight's going forward.
But more so than the commission, it's the sanctioning body too. Sanctioning body doesn't have a problem with it.
Hey, Robbie.
Yeah.
Aren't Huey Fury, Tyson Fury, and Billy Joe the only big gypsy fighters in UK? Like they're the only gypsy stars?
I think you're right. I think you're right about that.
And all three of them have failed PED tests, right? All three of them?
I believe they have, yes.
Bobby Gunn's a gypsy. He hasn't failed a PED test.
They call each other cousins, don't they?
I think so.
That's kind of suspect, isn't it?
Yep.
All of them. And all of them are known to have a bad lifestyle. They're not the hardest workers. They get fat. So it's obvious they're looking for edge and not having to work that hard, right? I mean, that's the only reason I see.
And that's
all legitimate claims, Jason. All legitimate claims. You're on point this week. You're on point. I'm actually liking the commentary this week.
Yeah, good call this week.
I've been on point for fucking years, talking about HBOs about to die.
No, not for years, but you've had a good show right now. That's all.
Maybe for a couple of minutes.
Maybe years. I've been predicting this death of HBO for years. You guys know it. Only me, nobody else.
You know what Jason does?
That's what.
You know what Jason does? He throws a dart. He throws a dart.
Because of me, you're getting fucking sterling cash sent to you because of Jason, baby. Who gets fucking global donations because of their comments in the fucking section?
He throws a dart against the wall, then paints a bullseye around it. That's how he gets his predictions. That's what he does. That's what he does.
Why do you think Igloo and Aaron Daly are donating money to you guys? Cash because of me. Who else is donated because anybody? Come on now. That's special shit right there. Nobody else gets donation because of their comments.
Jason, we appreciate you. You bring a lot of
I heard
Go ahead.
Dude.
So you bring a lot of entertainment value to this show, Jason.
He does. We like Jason.
Yeah.
We give you credit. We give you credit for that.
I love Robbie too. I love pushing Robbie's buttons, but I don't hate Robbie. He might think I hate him, but I don't hate Robbie. But
it's like a love fest.
Also, I was gonna say Bob Arum said that some networks like TNT and NBC might go into boxing, and that's what Eric Gomez kind of hinted at, that some networks that have contacted them are not in boxing already.
Yeah.
So look for maybe Canelo to go to somebody like NBC. Maybe they can get 2 pay-per-view dates and like 10 dates a year. That's all they need really, and they have ESPN too. They're good to go.
So what pay-per-view arm is Canelo gonna fight on now? If it's not HBO pay-per-view, who's gonna?
Maybe he'll go to Showtime. You know.
Showtime doesn't have 10 days to give to shit. Golden Boy needs like 10, 12 days also. NBC probably, because NBC has boxing history, right? They know the boxing, kind of like the, what do you call it, boxing blueprint. They know how to run boxing. So NBC was doing boxing with PBC like 2 years ago, so I think Canelo is.
Yeah, NBC knows how to do boxing.
$20 at NBC, right?
Yeah.
They have the infrastructure already.
We'll see.
Also, guys, remember PBC is going to have another studio show on the Big Fox once a month and one studio show on Fox Sports. Did you guys know that?
Yeah, it's part of the new deal. Yep.
Yeah, I'm wondering who they're going to get because everybody's been fucking hired already. Andre Ward, Sugar Ray. I wish they would have hired somebody like that, you know? I wonder who they're going to fire.
Well, Roy Jones will be available now.
Yeah, they need one more guy, though. They need one or two other guys that can speak good.
How about Lampley and Kellerman?
Roy Jones. You have Roy Jones.
Antonio Tarver is going to come back, I bet you. They'll bring Antonio Tarver back.
No. He's been getting. He's busy beating up his fucking stepson for not paying for food. What a fucking retard he is.
Yeah.
He beat up his stepson for not having.
What did he do?
What kind of shit is that?
What did he do, Jason?
He beat up his stepson.
He beat up his stepson?
For not having money for breakfast at Waffle House or something like that.
Jesus Christ.
What kind of shit is that? He's like 18-year-old kid, dude. Jesus Christ. Whatever.
He didn't have money for the bill, and he beat him up.
Hey, yeah, he beat him up. And Beeb, but isn't this kind of suspect that Richard Ortiz was like this crime happened around March and then just pulled him out or charged him right before the fight? Because I think these fucking prosecutors know when it's going to make the most impact. They waited till fight week or whatever. They knew it would make a lot of noise because.
Oh, this incident happened in March. This happened in March, and it's just coming out now.
Yeah, it happened in March, Beeb, March 19th.
Oh my! And it's coming out now.
It's suspect though, right around fight week. I mean, that's so suspect.
Why did they sit on it? Why did they sit on it like that?
More appropriate is you have him step in the ring, and then the officers come in the ring and put handcuffs on him.
Well, maybe they had to do a thorough investigation before they could prosecute.
Hey, Robbie, almost 60-70% of rape cases, police doesn't even investigate them. Like, that's how bad it is. So,
right. That's what we were saying. It's
guys
it's
need to
bad.
learn to pay attention. When a
also,
woman says no.
Do you guys know how bad the jails in LA are? People that are murdered people and rape people, they get let out early. So even if you commit a crime like that in LA, you might serve 30 days and they'll let you out because they're so fucking overcrowded over there. Do you guys know that?
Oh, yeah. All of California's prisons are overcrowded.
Never see that stuff going on in Ohio.
What are the actual charges though for Victor Ortiz? What is it? Is it assault or is it attempted rape?
Three
felony
assault,
counts.
Three felonies.
It's rape, sexual assault, and
Yeah, it's.
If he gets convicted, he ain't getting on days, bro.
3 felony counts:
No.
forcible rape, forcible oral copulation, and forcible digital penetration.
He's going into the population, brother. He's getting orange. He's getting an orange jumpsuit.
We've got a fucking.
And do you know what they do with people in the population of prison when they find out what you're in there for?
Oh my God!
You've been in the pokey before. Let us know.
Hey, did you guys watch the Supreme Court Justice's testimony? Did you guys watch that?
No, we're not going to get.
Yeah, we watched it.
Did you guys see how he lied about everything he wrote in his yearbook? Everything he talked about in his yearbook was a lie. Everything he's told was a lie.
They both lied. They both lied. She said she's afraid. She said she's afraid to fly, and she's flying all around the country. She's saying she's afraid to fly, and they're flying her all around the country.
Robbie.
Yeah.
You know who Joshua Franco is? That kid who fights on Golden Boy, the little kid who. His little brother Bam is about to fight on PBC. He's with Tech and Promotion, but he's fighting on PBC tonight.
Right. Okay.
Sweet.
And Joey Spencer. Also, Chavez's father said that his son might be on Wilder versus Fury undercard.
Yeah, and by the way, know it all. He's not fighting Martinez, just like I predicted. He's not fighting Martinez.
That's what they said, but that's off now. But he might.
It's off now. It was never on the table, stupid. That's what you get for just reading random tweets.
It was on the table last week, you moron. Did you forget last week?
We got other people waiting, Jason. So.
All right, guys.
Robbie just got him.
Give him the hook, Robbie. Get him out of here.
That was cold-blooded, Robert. Robert doesn't care. I was looking while that call was going on. I was looking for the ratings for DAZN for Joshua Povetkin. I can't find them anywhere. So,
no, you're not going to find them.
No, I don't know how he comes up with some of this crap. I really don't.
Joe Lopez said that Robbie was a shot caller in the pokey. It was like
Oh my God.
it was like 11 in there because you know, hey, we agreed with Jason.
No, seriously, guys. Unfortunately, I've known people that have been in jail, and from what I've been told, if a prisoner finds out that you're in there for a sexual offense, you normally get treated pretty badly.
Robbie knows some people who rob some people who know some people.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, I know the cousin of a cousin whose nephew.
I know some people who know some people who rob some people. You know what I'm saying?
I know people.
Robbie lays it out for you to play it out. All right. Beeb, you may answer me a question, man. Where are the best callers from?
Oh, hi-oh.
Damn. OH.
Hi-oh.
There it is.
What's up?
What's
going on?
All right. So
Ohio's finest.
All right. So before we get into it, because Beeb brought this to my attention. Just before we went on the air. And I saw you had posted something on it. This is a very loose rumor, guys. A very loose rumor. We are not, I mean, I haven't seen any real outlets reporting this, anything, you know, going on. Adrian Broner is rumored to fight Floyd Mayweather in Tokyo. All right. That's the rumor going on. I saw you had posted it on your site. I was like, we got to talk about this because, again, it hasn't been confirmed by anybody. B brought it to my attention. B, where did you first see this at?
YouTube.
Okay. I mean, anybody like, what is it? 787 Sports did something on it.
78 Sports did a video. Blue Blood Sports did a video, and some other people did videos on it because they saw their videos.
All right.
Well, you know, with the way the two of them have gone back and forth over the years, it kind of makes sense.
It would be a good fight, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be an awesome fight. Now, where did you hear this from, Ohio?
I actually heard it from the same where Beeb heard it from, and then I had to confirm this rumor to see if it is a rumor with some of the trainers that I know that's in Cincinnati, and it's a real rumor.
Is there this? So it's being talked about, right?
Yeah. There's some definitely when you get close to some of the camp, and I'm not gonna, name none of my sources, but I know a lot of Ohio trainers. But
Mike Stafford.
Said Mike Stafford. That's only one Ohio trainer. You know what I'm saying? There's only one Cincinnati trainer.
It's a lot of them. It's a lot of them. But yeah, I talked to a couple guys, man. And, this, and it's so funny because Broner actually did say that he got something big coming up, and he didn't say that about a lot of his fights, but this one was just real, head scratching, because he's talking about payday too. So he's
what? Like I said, with the way that those two have gone back and forth over the years, this makes perfect sense.
Man,
yeah, I think it does. From Floyd Mayweather perspective, I think Broner would be the perfect fit for him. I think, but the only thing that is a head scratcher to me if this fight does happen, they're talking about Tokyo, and I don't know if Eric's seen what I wrote. I was like, well, the last big underdog from Ohio that was in Tokyo, that was James Buster Douglas.
That's right.
Ohio's son.
1990. Yep, February 11th, 1990.
History always repeats. What are the odds of Broner from Ohio fighting Floyd Mayweather in Tokyo? I can already see the excuses that I don't think. Don't get me wrong. I might be rooting for Broner, but I don't think he's going to beat Floyd. I think Floyd
he's going to strip Floyd.
Got the tools in the bag. I don't think that, but
he's going to strip Floyd. Floyd's legs are gone. I'm telling you this right now. Broner is going to strip Floyd Mayweather, son. If he gets anywhere close to that fight, Mayweather's done. I'm telling you, he doesn't have his legs anymore.
Man.
He doesn't have his legs anymore.
I don't know. I think his reflex. I think he's starting to lose there. I think he's getting a little bit.
Connor was touching that boy up. Conor McGregor was touching him up. What do you think Broner's going to do to him?
It happens because they've been going back and
wrapping up, I think, can you imagine the build-up?
Oh,
can you imagine
God.
the build-up to the fight?
This is the best move.
Being Broner.
This is if Floyd wants to come back, this is the best move possible against the best guy possible. You know what I mean? Because he's very beatable.
And guess what, guys? If Adrian Broner beats Floyd Mayweather in Tokyo, he gets the Pacquiao fight, not Floyd.
Right. That's the big motivator right there. That will motivate for the Cotto. I think it would be a fight to watch. Now I wouldn't watch me. I was already on hand saying I wouldn't watch the Pacquiao and Floyd 2 fight. I was just saying that I'm done with it. But
there's no way I'd watch Floyd Pacquiao 2.
No, I'm not for it. But I want to build up to that. I think that would be it would be real interesting. And a lot of people I'm talking to in Ohio, they not hardcore boxers, but they do watch boxing in there. They know who Broner is, they know who Mayweather is, and their eyes is lit. They hear the rumor and they're going crazy already. Like, I'm buying that. I'm like, wow. So a lot of people who ain't really hardcore is talking about they would buy that fight. So I know that
that's crazy
Broner
fight.
Do good numbers.
You know what? For a rumor, this makes a lot of sense.
It makes a ton of sense. Who else would you pay to see Floyd Mayweather fight? I mean, think about it for a minute. Who else? Because the fight's going to be on pay-per-view. I mean, who else would you pay to see Floyd Mayweather fight? He's not going to fight Errol Spence. He's not going to fight Errol Spence. He's not going to fight Keith Thurman. Those guys wouldn't bring in numbers anyway. He's not going to fight Crawford, anybody dangerous, or anybody that he perceives as dangerous. Brawner's the perfect guy because Brawner's on the slide, Floyd's on the slide. It's a perfect fight, and they both will, and Brawner can get numbers.
Just like with the Wilder Fury press tour, which is going to happen next week, can you imagine the Brawner Mayweather press tour? The news conferences will be off the charts.
Yes, it would. It definitely would. I think that would be. I was actually, once I heard it and started to do my little research myself, I was just like, wow, okay. The more I start to dig in and hear about it, I was like, you know what, this is not bad. This is very, very interesting.
If he signs that fight, I'll definitely buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will probably be there. So, but if they in Tokyo, that's when I got to save some more money.
So you can wear your hat in Tokyo. You can wear the hat in Tokyo.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, right. I can see James Buster Douglas in Broner's corner. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't really think about the Ohio connection there, but yeah, that was I think Mayweather odds. Las Vegas will be very high too, which 41-1, like Tyson was with Buster. Man, that was big odds.
Yeah, I think when that fight on Fight Night, I think it was 42-1, if I remember right.
Yeah, 42. Yep, 42-1. That's what it was. 42-1. But and Mayweather, I think that is some big odds. Somebody can make a lot of money on that one because the odds should be very high for Mayweather. But that rumor was interesting. I had a lot of people inbox me and bullshit. Where did you hear it from? It was hilarious, man.
I was looking because I didn't see any solid sources on it. But hey, man, you said you talked to some people. I believe it, man. It makes sense. It's a fight that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but let's make it clear, people. It's still a rumor. I think sometimes these rumors,
very loose rumor,
and I think some of them start just to get a buzz. They want to see what everybody's going to say. They want to get that, see what the feel first.
It wouldn't surprise me that Floyd put this out there to see what people's reactions were.
Yeah, because if there's a groundswell for it, that's the fight to make.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody's going to pay to see another Berto fight.
This makes absolutely perfect sense.
Yeah.
I love it. This is great.
Love this fight, man.
I never thought you could get me excited about a Mayweather fight, but this makes perfect sense.
Right. Let me touch on that undercard. That fight on Showtime, man. Those two Ohio boys on there, Thomas Matisse and DeAndre Ware. He was from Toledo, Ohio. He was coming off a 2-week notice when he took that fight.
Hey, Ware put up a good fight, man.
Oh, he did. I think he started to gas out towards the end a little bit, but he actually put on a good fight. It was crazy because I actually scored it for what's his name? I had him winning the fight.
Yeah.
And he.
I forget his name too.
Me too. Kalik, I think Kalik. I think it's
Killick
something like that.
or something like that. Yeah.
And I was scoring it on my page. You know, I do that sometimes. But his wife, DeAndre Ware's wife, commented under like, that's bullshit. The storm is bullshit. And I was just like, you know who I was rooting for, but I'm not biased when it comes to that, man. I go by what I see.
Right.
Yes, I'm rooting for my Ohio guys, man. But I can't give them that fight. Now, the second fight, Thomas Matisse, this time, I had him losing the first fight. I had him
he definitely lost the first fight, but the second fight was even better than the first. I hope they do it again, man.
Yeah, I think that I already said that was going to be the fight of the night. I believe that was going to be the best fight under that card.
Yeah.
It was very good. Thomas Matisse got hurt again. He got hit with a big shot, but I felt that he came on strong the last 2 or 3 rounds.
Yep.
And he got those, and I had it 5-3. I said it was like a swing around here and there too. You could have gave him, so I wasn't mad at a draw. But I had Thomas winning this one, but I felt like the judges, if it was close, they were going to give it a draw, and they wasn't going to give Thomas the win just because of the first fight. That's just how I was feeling.
Well, the first fight they had awful judges. That's all I can say. You know?
Yeah, it was like whoa. So yeah, I like his judges. He fall, he even fell, gets back up, and he still fighting. I don't know if y'all see this other fight on Showbox before this fight. He was down about 7 or 8. He was on like.
Oh yeah, the first time he was on there, he was clearly losing, and he came back and won.
Yeah, came back strong, man. He's a great puncher. He's stablemate with Montana Love, another guy that's coming up from Ohio, Cleveland.
Yep, good old Cleveland, Montana Love.
yeah, you know, got the pretty boy. Now I had him losing on Showbox the last time, so it was like him and Thomas Matisse got some give some of the last one, but you got to keep it straight down the line, man. That's why a lot of the Ohio boxers and trainers respect me. They know I go hard for them, but I'm gonna keep it real too, so they ain't gonna get no biased opinions. You know.
Well, I love that series. That's a great series to watch, man.
Yeah, I actually put on my wall because I was talking about HBO, man. I heard some of y'all feel sorry. I am too, man. I grew up on HBO boxing, man. I am gonna miss it, but it did have its bias, a lot of bias moments. I remember one of the bias moments with George Foreman. George Foreman and Prince Ahmed was fighting, and I think Jim Lampkin said something about Ali. His Ali can't him or something. If y'all can rephrase that for me. He said something about the Prince Ahmed's God. He said Ali can't save him now when Barrera was beating him. And I remember George Foreman was like, Foreman said, now you're going too far now.
Yeah.
Foreman said, now you're going too far now. Now you're getting personal. You can tell he had something against Prince too, man. You know, you can tell. But one of my favorite moments was Kelly Patrick, man. Kelly Patrick winning the middleweight champion from my hometown, Youngstown, Ohio.
Yep.
That was when Jermaine Taylor, and that was when Jermaine Taylor was like the guy.
Yep.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite HBO moments. And that was one of the first fights I actually sit with.
Jermaine Taylor went from the boxing god to the mental god. You know.
Wow, how dare you?
Right. Now I want to ask y'all.
90 seconds.
On here. Now I don't know if Eric, have you seen that? I put the video footage of Darnell Boone knocking out Adonis Stevenson.
I did see that. Yeah.
From Youngstown, Ohio, too.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yep.
Yeah, I put the footage. It's so hard to find the footage now. My question to y'all is, why do they do that? Like hide these guys from getting knocked out. You know, they're trying to hide that, you know, that these guys get knocked out. Because a lot of people, you know,
60 seconds.
Even with Kovalev and Darnell Boone, they didn't even know, you know, Darnell Boone knocked Kovalev down. You know,
Yeah, I
they
know.
Right.
a lot of
Andre
people
Ward,
didn't
he
know
knocked Andre Ward down, had him in
But,
trouble.
Didn't he knock down Andre Ward too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on HBO, so that couldn't be his.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was right there.
Yeah.
I don't know if they hide it on purpose. It could have
Yeah.
just been, I mean, you know, I don't know, because it was early on. I mean, it was early on and stuff like that. So I don't think it's
That's
purposeful, but you know.
Because I heard Canelo. The reason why I say that because I had some footage down a sparring, and somebody was getting the best of him. I forgot who it was, but I'm like, it's sparring. Like y'all taking it down, like trying to hide it. It happens. It's the sport. I just don't
10
get it.
seconds.
Because I heard about Ryan Garcia having footage of sparring, getting sit down because somebody was getting the best of him. I forgot who it was, but
yeah, I mean, it's sparring, you know.
Down. So I was just like, huh?
Yeah, you can't put too much stock in the sparring.
I don't get that.
No.
I don't get that. Victor Ortiz, man, I heard about that.
Awful.
I don't know why. I agree with Rob what he said earlier. Come on, man, there's too many girls that's willing to do it for a cheeseburger. Come on, man. You come down here in Ohio and you got buy a girl a number one combo meal and she's yours for the night. I don't understand.
Oh my God.
That's how we do it in Ohio.
That's bad.
Title Town, baby.
That's bad.
I don't understand it. You don't have to go that route. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to go that route.
No.
Bill Sanders.
I don't know. I don't know if the male population will ever learn. I mean, come on. The last 2 years, especially, look at how many people in the entertainment industry alone has lost their position because they didn't know how to keep their hands to themselves. You know.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's true. And I want to end it with Billy Joe, man. Billy Joe, come on, man. He knew what he was doing. And the only what made me upset about this fight, I was rooting for Billy Joe to win this fight. I actually think Billy Joe can beat Demetrius Andrade.
Well, and he probably will now that we know he had extra help, you know.
and that's what kills me because Demetrius will have. Even if he lose, he got an excuse. He got a good excuse for it if he lose. So now it's like I'm starting to switch over, and like I'm gonna go for the guy who didn't test positive.
Yeah,
who's trying to do the right thing.
The sad part about it is the way he talked about Canelo. If he wins this fight, guess what? Billy Joe will eventually have to fight Canelo for all the middleweight titles.
Right. That's definitely crazy. But yeah, that's my call, guys. I didn't want to be too long.
Okay.
All right, man.
See you later.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right. Real quick, the rest of the news here: Clarissa Shields versus Christina Hammer set for November 17th in Atlantic City. Lomachenko versus Pedraza set for December 8th in New York. As we mentioned earlier, Wilder Fury lands in LA at the Staples Center on December 1st. And some sad news from the world of boxing. Don Shargin passes away. He is a promoter, matchmaker, and International Boxing Hall of Famer. Passed away this week at the age of 90.
He put boxing on the map in California. He promoted fights for a total of 69 years.
Wow.
You know, and I think he promoted well over 2,000 fights because he originally started the series from 1964 to 84 of all the fights being in the Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles. He always put together top-notch fights. For the state of California, this is a tremendous loss.
Yeah, for sure. You hate to hear anything like that, man. All right, so that'll do it for this edition of Ringside Reporter. As always, you can catch Robert on Twitter at Ringside Robert, or you can call Ringside Robbie's Corner at 917-259-1810. Leave him a message. You can catch Joe Habib on Twitter at jhabib1 and find his YouTube channel at beatingtheoddswithbeeb.com. I'm at Ringside 73, and we will see you next week.
All right.